looters this morning invaded the Abuja NYSC camp and they carted away mattresses and many other things. Now they stormed the hoodlums, I think that's the word we're using now, suspected hoodlums. This morning stormed the orientation camp of the National Youth Service Corps in Kubwa, Abuja, and carted away mattresses and other valuable assets. Now this development has plunged the community into unrest as gunshots rented the air, with soldiers trying to safeguard the facilities from the looters. An eyewitness claimed that the hoodlums, armed with dangerous weapons, including knives and other sharp objects, descended on the community and mounted roadblocks. Motorists were sent back by the thugs who took away mattresses and other materials that were meant for corps members. Some residents, according to the reports in the neighborhood, also joined the looters to steal from the orientation camp. All right, now, you know, from this report, when I was going through it, what struck me is the fact that we're so quick to always use the term hoodlums, you know, to describe these people who are doing this dastardly act. But let's not forget, the hoodlums create an avenue for self-righteous people like you and I too, who live nearby, to also, do you understand? Even the citizens that you expect to be of better moral standing are joining the hoodlums to also loot. And so where really do we even start from at this juncture?
I'm going to take Dr. Maduka and I, we have this ball we play every weekend.
Yeah.
And it's becoming an interesting one. And why I find it interesting is that it helps me to also express myself. And like you said, there is nothing like education. What has happened, whether we like it or not, it brings to question the Nigerian original identity. Dr. Maduka and I have done 2 or 3 weeks. We've been talking about who is a citizen, who is a Nigerian, what do you own, what makes you a Nigerian. The thing is that a lot of people have lost their identity as Nigerians. So they're seeking for that identity. And like the person who just said there is a big gap between the rich, the poor, the educated, and the uneducated. This is where the problem is. People are seeking for identity, and they're not finding it.
But if you're seeking for identity, did you go about it in a destructive manner? Is that the way to go?
It brings us back to the issue of education.
Education. You don't educate people.
It brings us back. You see, like I keep saying, I've said it here severally, that when I was growing up, the religious institutions were known to be the household of morality. The religious institutions, the school, the parents. But take these 3 bodies together and tell me what's happening now today. The religious institutions now come out to talk only when it affects them. The schools are more interested in how much they're going to rip up of parents and the students. The parents are busy looking for what to use in feeding their children. So who is training the Nigerian child? Who? So a lot of Nigerian children are left to train themselves. And we know what peer group can cause. So we need to go back. We all need to reappraise ourselves and go back to the status quo. And it all starts from where? Education.
Okay. All right, Dr. Maduka.
You know, it takes me to, I used to say action and consequences. You know, this hoodlum didn't start overnight. We saw how it started, except we were just fooling ourselves. We saw in Abuja, these guys were peaceful. They were peaceful until we discovered that people now hired dogs with clubs and knives, and they were pursuing the peaceful ones, and no policeman came out. You see, when you know, life is something about you try issue, and if it work, you continue, but if it didn't work, you go back. When they tried that thing, I told somebody, I said, if they didn't check these people that are now pursuing the peaceful protesters, it's going to boomerang. that is going to, because people are watching. And unfortunately too, that same day, a small boy of not more than 30 or 28 or something came out on national TV, where most of all
on social media.
Most of your radio, television stations were there, and they were interviewing the guy, and the guy said, "I'm giving every protester 48 hours." It was on
social media,
yeah,
not on national TV.
But
I saw that video, but of course,
but some television are there.
I don't want to believe any journalist who is worth their onions will put that on TV.
They were there. They were there. You see, watch it. The TV stations are there.
Yes, they could have taken that. I'm telling you, but they won't put that on TV.
You know where I'm going is that, how on earth somebody that
have the effrontery to do that? Yes, I get what you're saying.
48 hours, I'm giving everybody to get out. If you don't get out, you're going. And within few hours, they burn most of
and
the
nothing
cars.
has happened to that young man as such yet. I get what you're saying.
So these are the issues. There's something that started it, and nothing happened. So for a young man to boastfully say that in a national glare means that there are supporters, because otherwise it could have been picked. Because as at that time, the government or Nigeria don't need such. We don't need such miscreant. Because I call him a miscreant. Because his utterance, his boastfulness resulted in the burning and the beginning of looting and everything, burning and everything. That was the beginning. We see, and then even what even pained me more was when they were interviewing one of those guys that his car was burned. He said there were policemen around that they reported, but they didn't come about. So what I'm saying is that, you see, if you don't educate people, you end up with what we're having right now. And of course, actions and consequences. If anybody did something, why can't we pick that young boy? Why should people be seen carrying clubs, carrying knives, and nobody arrested anybody? Nobody as of today has been arrested. You are creating a scenario that you will not, in foreseen time, checkmate. And that is what is happening. Because when Lagos people watched, nothing happened. Abuja people just watched, nothing happened. Damaturu, nothing. Osun, nothing. Then it's a free will. That means that government is not doing anything. That means that government is even supporting rioting or supporting whatever that is happening. So that is the consequence. I started my school, like he said. I started my school from Methodist. I didn't pay a kobo. I didn't pay one kobo. I told you that they dragged me to school. From there I entered to Catholic. I didn't pay one kobo. Education to them then was the best they can give to a child. I have my daughter that is in US, and they are relocating. Do you know that one of the things that made them not to relocate as at the time, because of they have to put internet in their new residence because of the children. They have to sign undertaking because of the children. Because the education of those children is very important to US citizens. They are not even talking. They've told that these children cannot miss class more than one day. Do you know what that means? So you have to go and put those things before you even pick the children to where you're headed. These are the ways you can.
Okay.
Sorry, patience. I need to
quickly,
add this.
sir.
You know, I remember when the federal government applied a lockdown over COVID-19 and all of that, we had a group calling themselves 1 Million Boys. And I remember I kept asking, there is a curfew, a national curfew. And yet you have these 1 million boys terrorizing every street in Lagos. And nobody could stop them. And then I put it on the foot of His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State. You declare a curfew and your security men are not there on the streets. No, there's no sane society where you have a curfew without deploying those who will control the implementation of that curfew.
All right, talking about deployment of security operatives, well, soldiers have been deployed in cities by the Nigerian army across the country as part of efforts to restore security after hoodlums hijacked the NSAS protest. According to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukul Buratai, he has directed that the troops respond quickly and decisively to any attempt by elements to cause a breach of the law and order. In his words, any act of arson or attempt to kill or maim any military or security personnel and other law-abiding citizens must be responded to quickly and decisively. The acting director of Army Public Relations went on to note that their action will be taken in consultation with the police, whose responsibility it is for internal security. The Army also gave the assurance that it would remain committed to democratic governance as the only panacea for development and progress. Meanwhile, we'll come back.
Okay, I want to talk on that one.
We'll come back.